another edition of the Jacksonville Buzz. I am your host, Adrienne Houghton. And joining me today in the studio is Jimmy Peluso, and you will recognize him as he is a councilman for downtown Jacksonville. And I'm delighted to welcome you here.
Thank you for having me. This is awesome. I love being here.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm hoping that we're going to be able to do this on a regular basis, because I think it's really necessary that you get your point across, and we can inform the audience of what's happening downtown and
I'll never say no to being on camera. I mean, you know, you want to keep bringing me in here, I'll absolutely do it.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, what is your vision? I mean, let's just start from the top. What's your vision for downtown?
So, my vision for downtown is that we become not just, you know, an urban environment that sort of everyone wants to congregate to, but a place where we can attract young talent, right? We've seen so many other downtowns and cities, you know, operate at high levels, and they were very similar to Jacksonville, maybe back in the 90s or the 80s, and they figured it all out. Meanwhile, Jacksonville has kind of been held back a little bit. There's a couple reasons for that, right? You know, the type of government that we operate in and the size of the city of Jacksonville has really kind of hampered our ability to develop downtown, but we finally seem to have the places or the pieces in place. We seem to have the leadership in place to really kind of move things in the right direction. We have a lot of private sector folks doing what they are saying they want to do. They're finally raising capital and getting real interest from investors. And then we have the public sector coming around, making sure we're putting in the needed infrastructure, you know, on our roads and our bulkheads to really kind of make it an attractive place. Not to mention the parks and the fact that Mosh is about to move downtown, right? So a lot's going on, and together it's really going to move us in the right direction. But overall, you know, I want a downtown that's incredibly walkable, incredibly bikeable, safe, you know, that's well lit, where you could walk multiple blocks and find several different things, you know, going on, different retail opportunities, different events.
Food and drink on the river.
Food and drink on the river. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that really attracts people to be around. There's nothing worse, and I've been to a lot of cities, I've lived in a lot of cities because of my time in the military. There's nothing worse than walking 2 or 3 blocks and it's not well lit and there's no activity. Like it just feels,
it feels sad.
Not only does it feel sad, but it also, you know, it gives people, you know, no desire to want to go there. Or they'll just stay in one place, which is great. I mean, if you're at Calford or the Volstead or Dos Gatos, it's great. We want you to stay there and enjoy yourself. But you also want to make sure that there's multiple things going on, you know, within that block, right? You know,
absolutely.
If you read the Jackson, they call it the 3 C's, and it's all about clustering and making sure there's activity.
Yeah.
And
so what are you most excited about projects that are coming up? What are your...
Oh, that's a great...
I mean, there's a lot, right?
There is, and actually City Council just received legislation to provide an incentive package for what's known as the Gateway Project. So Gateway is a group of developers who came here from Tampa. If you ever saw Water Street down in Tampa, you'll know exactly the type of product that they're going to do, which is high-end. It's incredible. And so they have a bunch of kind of blocks of city blocks that they've purchased over the past couple of years, and they have a master plan for all of it. So phase 1 is what we're going to be voting on, and there's I think 5 buildings, 3 of which that currently exist, 2 they're going to build. One of them is going to be a 22-story high-rise. Right? This is the kind of stuff that just visually will let people know, oh my God, Jacksonville's back. Right? We're seeing stuff going up. We're seeing real activity. That's going to be on Beaver Street. Right? So pretty much right directly north of downtown. So as you drive down Union or State Street on the way to the stadium, you know, you might kind of look around and just be a little bit, you know, hey, this looks dismal. Well, now you're going to see a ton of activity. It's going to be great. The other good project is on the other side of the river, which is the Related Group is looking to build, I think also around an 18 or a 20-story tower. Now the Related Group comes to us from Miami, and the owner of that entity is George Perez, who has been in the affordable housing space and the condominium space in Florida for years. Second largest affordable housing developer.
So necessary.
Not only is it so necessary, but his products are beautiful. And something that I know you'll appreciate, and I know I do, he's an art fanatic. So he owns, I think, the first or the second largest art museum in Miami. So on top of the fact that he wants to come here and build a beautiful skyscraper with much needed, you know, downtown housing, he's also going to help bring us, you know, more of an art scene in Jacksonville. Yes. And as we look at, you know, just different things happening either downtown or right outside of downtown, and I could talk about the Phoenix Art District for hours, we can go down a whole path. The Related Project and the Gateway Project are the 2 anchors, I think, of our downtown. Then we can really kind of focus on that urban core, those old historical buildings that we all want to see come back to life.
This is wonderful information, because I know that there's a lot of people out there that are like, oh, nothing's happening, what's going on? They're all just sort of sitting on their butts doing nothing. But this is good information that we're getting out to people. There is stuff happening. There is hope.
Correct. And the good thing about both of these developers is they have the money to do it.
Yeah.
Oftentimes you'll see a couple of mom and pop developers show up, and they buy a building, they want to do good work, but they just don't have the capacity, whether it be the equity or kind of the know-how to make it happen.
Right.
And then interest rates go up, and the economy has an issue,
Absolutely.
or they just can't find the private financing. They can't get gap financing, is what we call it.
Yeah.
These are two entities that have everything going for them. They're coming before City Council in the next couple of weeks. I'm really hopeful that the rest of my colleagues recognize the value of what they're going to bring to our city. You add those two major projects, you're going to start seeing stuff
Absolutely.
really move.
Absolutely.
And of course, we got parks right on the river that are being developed right now. We could talk about that all day long, too.
Yeah, that's for another time.
All right.
And we're going to have to wrap it up. But before we
Sure.
do, I'm going to have to ask you, the Jaguars deal.
Yes.
Just sum it up briefly. How happy are you?
So, I'm grateful that we got a deal done, because now we have the Jaguars here long term.
Yeah.
They wanted to be here, and I had very candid conversations with Mark Lamping about, hey, does Shad really care about Jacksonville, or does he just want, a football team here? He said, look, he wouldn't be doing this if he didn't, he would be looking towards other cities if he really wanted to kind of move the team. He's like, he's committed to Jacksonville, and we're committed to working with the city. We want to make sure we have a good deal. My colleague, Joe Carlucci, openly said, I was waiting for the shoe to drop and for it to be a really scary deal where we have to put up way more dollars than we expected. It was really kind of a 50-50 split. This is the best deal the NFL's seen.
Yeah.
And it's really not going to affect the taxpayer that we initially thought. On top of that, we have something called a community benefits agreement that we're talking about right now. And in that deal, the Jaguars and the city of Jacksonville are going to come together and make sure that we have a deal that's going to help the Out East neighborhood, which is right next to the stadium.
Yeah.
They're the most at risk, because when you have a major development and a lot of capital next to an older neighborhood that's kind of been devoid of that kind of capital, it could really displace people. Well, the Jaguars have recognized that, and they want to help make sure Out East is safe. And then on top of that, we have a larger scale piece to the community benefits agreement that will help with workforce development, affordable housing, and homelessness. All are major issues for the entirety of our city.
Whoa.
So we're seeing real commitments from our partners in the Jaguars. And then, of course, we're going to have an awesome new stadium, and as we should expect in the next couple of years, a neighborhood right outside of it. So
Fantastic.
Yep, I'm really excited about it.
Jimmy,
Hey.
I'll see you in a month.
Oh, happy to be here.
Fabulous.
Thanks, Adrienne.
And don't forget, if you'd like to know any more information about what's happening downtown and anything that Jimmy's doing in his districts, then you can find it out on dailynewsnetwork.com.
Thank you.